Without a shadow of a doubt, it's the Crunkest Show in social media history. I want to welcome you to another episode of Dirty Politrickz. I got my man Chuck Marley in the building, my man Aubrey R. Taylor, and I am the 5-star general. The coalition of crooked black Negroes is at it again. Say, man, I don't know what it's going to take for these Negroes to stop, but tonight we're going to pull the lid off on them again. Say, man, it is what it is, so buckle up. Let's get to it. Say, man, I want to welcome you to another episode of Dirty Politrickz and tell you thank you, because you know without you guys, we wouldn't have a show. And we appreciate you taking the time out to call in. To tune in, to be able to sit down and listen to the information that we're about to give you, because we want to educate you so that you can make sure that you know everything that you need to know about what's going on. My man Aubrey Taylor is on assignment, so he undercover. He undercover tonight, so can't see where he at. But he healed. Say, I'm gonna just go on and get it fired up. I know we just had a hurricane, so hopefully all you good people are recovering real good. Some power still out, and hopefully the city and the county is working hard to get everybody back up to speed. But just take your time, man, and make sure that when all this stuff is about to happen, that you got everything that you need to be able to deal with these hurricanes, these floods, and all this stuff that's going on. Say, Aubrey, I heard that Carol Robinson and the Texas Coalition of Crooked Negroes is at it again, man. What's going on with these people, brother?
Yeah, man. In the we've got this pack that's set up this reform HISD pack that these guys, him and Antron, created back in 2020, shortly after. I don't know if it's created exactly before the presidential election was over with, but I know that Carol gave $100 to this pack on December the 30th, 2020. So, and since then, nobody else has given any money to it. So we're going to get into that a little bit. Published a page today about it. And it's just some strange stuff here going on, man.
Hey, Chuck, how you doing today, man?
Doing good. I enjoyed helping you on Saturday.
You know, we got to get back out there this weekend, so I'll be putting some stuff out. And if you guys want to come help me block walk, that'll be great. It is what it is, man. We got a little work to do, but I think we're going to be just fine. But, Aubrey, this new pack, and I've been saying it for months now. We've been saying it for months. This reform HISD. How the hell a black man gonna run an organization? And word on the street is the guy in my race, which is Joshua Rosales. That's just the word on the street. Allegedly, Carol is the one that put him in the race with me and Myrna Guidry. He puts the Latino in the race with me and Myrna Guidry, allegedly. You know anything about that, Doctor?
Yeah, I don't know too much about that, but I know that if that's true, then that's remarkably, the strange thing about that is that's remarkably similar to the race that Dutton was in. Hispanic was thrown into that particular race. Now, I doubt I don't know, man. That would be funny if Carol or someone connected to him did that, because, in that particular race, weren't they the ones who forced the hand of the district attorney to actually go after Richard Bonton and Natasha Deming and those guys for that?
Yeah, but that's why I said allegedly. That's the word on the streets.
Yeah.
That my man put him in there, but it really don't matter to me, because you're gonna have to beat me. That's all it boils down to. You're not gonna outwork me. I can tell you that now. You're not gonna outwork me. You're gonna have to beat me. And putting these people, no matter who convinced this guy to run, and from what I'm looking at, I looked at his little background. it's going to take more than somebody to sit in a seat for school board that has only been, involved with one school in the feeder pattern. And that kind of bugs me some days with people, not the fact that he's running, but just the fact that you've only had engagement with one school in the feeder pattern, and now you know what's best for all the kids in that whole district. And this is how these kids end up suffering because these people don't know what the hell they're doing. Chuck?
No, I think it's if they put somebody in there against you, I think that's good because I think that you can run on the fact that why would they try so hard, so many avenues to stop you from being in there?
I can tell you what I know that, it's been some rumblings about a new bond. Somebody wants to do a new school bond. And the last time we did a bond, 2.89 billion, we woke up one morning and 300 million was missing. So, it's easy to want to have people in place that'll be able to play the game. And what I mean by play the game is you got to get somebody to build these schools they say they want to build in this bond. So if they can give their friends contracts or push these contracts through, then somebody can make some money under the table. So I'm good with anybody they throw in the race. But I tell you this here, and I think, Aubrey, you've been out here, you've been covering a lot of different races. 05 Star I can't get a debate. I can't get an open debate from one of my opponents because they know you can't sit in the room and debate me because you don't know anything. You don't know anything, Aubrey.
Yeah, I tell you, it's funny. I mean, I thought that we would actually get a chance to see at least one debate, but it doesn't appear as though that's going to happen at this particular juncture. But I tell you what, I put my money on you in a debate against the opponent that you're running against. And as for the Hispanic, in that whether or not the Hispanic has been thrown in the district or not, it seems as though, one, the Hispanic's not going to win this particular seat. Two, I think that there's going to be an extremely low voter turnout in this particular election, just by lieu of the fact that most of the people that I've heard of that may be even endorsing this Myrna Guidry woman, they don't necessarily play. They're not going to be able to play ball in this school board races. One, because they're not on the ballot, and for them to play ball, it would be under some circumstances where they're, basically trying to use some of the old patterns that they've used, for these new voter laws and stuff. And that's going to be problematic for them. I think that in that we've got some stuff set in place to where that we'd be able to detect that relatively early in the process. Once the early voting cycle got going, you may see some folks actually, get some jail time behind this, behind a school board race, man. That's not even a salary position. So that's going to be a risky maneuver there.
Now, when you say some old tactics, can you expound on that?
Well, typically what would happen here, the prime candidate would be, in terms of from a consultant standpoint, to pull something that's off and defeat you, would be someone, probably like Dallas Jones. He mostly is the go-to guy in these races like this, where you got one race basically in the on the ballot that's a draw card for the African American community. They go to him, but it doesn't sound like in this point. Man, we haven't heard the name Dallas Jones in in a long time, so he's out of there. Now, as for if it's true that Ron Jackson's helping her, what you would see is sort of a process whereby which they don't run, a straight absentee ballot harvesting type campaign, but where you do have some absentee ballot harvesters playing ball, and you would typically see Ron basically run a campaign where he's running that perforated form that's with the county number on it, and they're basically sending out the request for the absentee ballots that way. So and there's ways to detect whether which process is being used. The other thing that you would look at that would ferret this out relatively quickly, especially with the new voting laws, is looking at the nightly returns in terms of the way that the absentee ballots are coming in. I've been doing this for a long time, so I could, on the first day of voting, I could tell you whether or not somebody's running an absentee ballot campaign against you once the numbers start coming out. And then that could be ferreted out. So if they're playing ball where you have someone inside the polling places, like that's typically done in these kind of races, where they're kind of telling folks, who to cast their ballot for and that kind of thing. You can there's ways to determine that now with the new voter laws, if they adhere to them, that we'd be able to ferret that out too. So I think what we're going to see here, man, is a mano type election with sort of a low voter turnout from the African American community, and the numbers are going to be run up pretty large, man, over in some of the other areas that these people typically neglect in elections like this.
I hope they set some of those. I hope they try some of that ballot harvesting, because this time around we know where to set the traps.
Yeah,
and we're gonna catch a couple of them's hand, grabbing for the cheese this time.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I was just about to say. Is it even worth trying to do this in an election that's not really big? It has very low voter turnout. Is it wise to roll the dice on this when you know that you're gonna have to try to pull it off in the big one in 2022?
Well, I think so. Because if you go back to the that runoff race that finally took place after over a year between Cynthia Bailey and Tarsha Jackson. Remember, I once I started reporting on that, you saw a fluctuation in the way that the absentee ballots are came in, and then you wind up seeing Tarsha kind of in your terms dog walk Cynthia Bailey by winning the race with the absentee ballots alone. So I think that they would try it, man. You got to remember, man, some of these folks, man, are so arrogant that they think that they're never going to get caught in this. But this is the election that we have here coming up on November 2nd is a perfect type of race, I think. And Chuck, I think you'll agree that that we can ferret this stuff out. Matter of fact, with the process, I don't know, Chuck, if you remember that we kind of used to determine some things at some of the polling places where we saw there were problems back in 2020. That will work perfectly here, because you only got what is it, 37, 38 places that we're trying to cover. So I think it's 37. So we'll be able to, man, determine exactly where the areas are. We don't have so much ancillary things that we need to be looking at, like we're trying to look at the 18th congressional. We're trying to look at precinct 1. We're looking at all these other areas where they're spreading around. It's going to be very, very, I mean, you got to hear me on this, Gary. It's going to be very, very easy to detect whether or not somebody cheated in a straight up race with 3 candidates, and we know where to look and we know where the problem areas are. I mean, I can tell you exactly which precincts because I've run campaigns in this particular area that you're running in before, several. So we'll be able to quickly, and when I say quickly, man, I mean quickly ferret out whether or not somebody's trying to cheat or whether or not these people cheated you. And even if you don't catch it real time, it's a lot easier to go back if things, I wouldn't say that if they don't turn out the way that we think that they are, but if the stuff looks suspicious, it's very easy to then get the ballots or look at the daily returns, which all that information this administrative election administrator will be providing us with real time. So man, I think that it's a risky maneuver to try anything in this particular race headed into 2022, especially after with these new with the new voting laws it's ridiculous, man. It would be asinine to try something in a school board race, man, with really nothing at stake to just try and keep that seat.
Well, that's why I'm saying roll the dice on this school board race. Because if you roll the dice on this school board race and you get caught and those voter laws come into play, then if I get this wrong, tell me, Aubrey and Chuck, they can go back and audit the election. Am I correct?
Chuck, you can help them. Yeah.
Yeah, the Senate for the state of Texas can ask for an audit, and all we have to have is a little bit of proof that shores up what we're arguing, and they can do it. And the laws go into effect, I believe, in January. But the good thing is, like Aubrey's saying, this is such a small haystack to look through to find the needle, and it'll be a lot easier than doing it next year. But the deal next year is the penalties will be much greater, and we already know where to look. So it's not like we're having to just go through the whole haystack anymore. Now we know the places where they hide these little cheats that they do.
Yeah, especially again, Gary, here's the thing I need for you to get, from me here. I'm familiar with this particular area. We know who the players are who play ball in this particular area, man. So, this is not like we're trying to look at Barrett Station, that we're trying to go to the north side, this is the heart of my distribution district that I've used election after election. We're not trying to look here at 800,000 votes like you would see in a general election. So
we're gonna be looking at about 8,000 votes.
Yeah, I mean that's max, man. Yeah, max. We're looking at about 8,000 votes. I know the history of the voting patterns. Those are relatively easy to see. One of the biggest races was the one that you ran in the last time, I think 2017, when and I think in that particular race, Wanda Adams only got about 5,000 or so votes, a little bit over 5,000. So, we're not talking about a lot of votes. So to have something happen here where we jump up and we see one candidate on the ballot in terms of this one female that you're running against, and she turns in 12,000 votes or some crazy number like that, man, the red flags immediately go up. We're not even at that point trying to ask for a recount or anything like that. We go to the voter rolls, and you look at the voter rolls at that point, and you'll be able to quickly ferret this stuff out. I mean, Chuck, you could pretty much, we could do that in a matter of time. We know the areas to go to. All you got to do then is go out and determine whether or not the people actually voted. And man, you got felonies, hitting all over the place at that point.
And what degree of a felony would this be, Chuck?
Well, so the issue is amount. So in other words, you get caught with one or two fake ballots or BS ballots, it's a misdemeanor issue. You get caught with dozens, it's a felony. You get caught colluding with other people to accomplish this task, it's a felony.
So we know for a fact that if they got to play the game, it ain't going to be a misdemeanor. Mm-hmm. It's definitely going to be a felony. Yeah. So, and I know y'all looking at me like, man, 5-star don't even look like he worried. I'm not. Because we already know. We already know what's going to happen. We already know where to look. We know that the traps have been set. It's up to you if you think you're going to get that cheese off that trap. That's why I keep saying that I'm not worried about it. And I don't take either one of my opponents lightly. I don't. Anybody can win. But I'm really not worried about it because they got to do the work. They got to do the work. And it's going to look real strange if you come through the door with all these mail-in ballots in the African-American community when they don't vote in these types of elections.
Well, and now, since the last election, we have a couple of friends at the clerk's office that's going to be on the lookout for shenanigans. So even if they come in the back door, we're gonna be prepared for it this time.
Yeah, but that's good. That's good, Chuck. But I mean, the overwhelming thing here, man, is going to be we will be able to see on the sheet exactly how many absentee ballots were actually mailed out. So hopefully they don't try to deal whether they're just sending out these things blanket. But we'll be able to see how many was mailed out, and then you'll be able to gauge the return in terms of how those returns are coming back in. If there are individuals who's going over and collecting them, which I doubt, we also will be able to see who those individuals were. And so, man, this is just an easy thing to do, and I look forward to it either way. This particular race is going to be one that I'll investigate. Chuck and I mean, with your help, I think that we're going to investigate regardless of what the outcome is, if there's any red flags raised. And again, I can't stress enough that this is a relatively easy election to determine whether or not fraud. So, I mean, who knows, man, there may be a godsend that we can determine whether or not elections are really fraudulent. I already know the answer to that. But this one, just because of the low voter turnout, we'll be able to do. And while we have a vested client, I mean, I didn't have in the other race that we mentioned where between the Cynthia Bailey and Tarsha Jackson, I mean, we didn't go back and really look into that. But there were several things there that I think that if someone looked into, that they would find something. But we're not going to be concerned ourselves with that. Here you got a perfect storm. That's not even supposed to be close, because I basically don't see, you got to do more to win elections than go out and put up a few signs, so there needs to be a campaign run. We don't see the appointed at this particular point, even the appointed trustee, I mean, actually running a bona fide campaign at this particular point, unless it's going to be solely reliant upon absentee ballots. And if that's the case,
somebody going to jail.
Yeah, if that's the case, somebody's going to go to jail if that's a road that they're going to go down. But have you seen any block walking or anything? I haven't seen a whole lot at this point, or heard a whole lot. I mean, we got feelers out there, got some folks who live in some of the areas. I mean, they haven't seen anybody coming by, talking, man. Things are awfully quiet out there. And typically when they're this quiet, you got some stuff going on behind the scenes. But what's problematic here, again, is that you don't have the big dogs in races. You don't have the Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lees. You don't see any folks endorsing this particular candidate that you're running against. You don't have ancillary campaigns that's running across the 13th, with Boris Miles or anybody like that. So they're going to have to do this on their own. And I bet those big dogs are some of their people are listening to us right now, and they know not to get involved in this particular in this particular race, man. It's gonna be very problematic, and there's gonna be some folks going to jail if they try the traditional stuff here in this particular race, because we've learned a lot, especially from 2020.
Well, that's why I keep saying roll the dice, because we know that some of the big dogs, they got to use the system that they know, and if you burn yourself on a race that's normally only won with 8,000 votes, you're not going to be able to use that system. And then guess what happens in the primary and the general? Some fraction, which would probably be the Dems, if you're using this system, you're going to get dog walked in the general. You're going to get dog walked. So you got to make the choice. Is it worth doing it now and not being able to do it later? Or do we just sit pat, put a little support behind them, let them think we really out there for them, and we just hold it until the primary and the general? I don't care if they do. It's going, and I'm gonna be honest. I'm not cocky, because y'all saw me. I mean, Chuck was out with us block walking. I got a bad knee, but bad knee or not, we out doing the work. You're not gonna get no 7,000-8,000 votes on me and think that it's not gonna look strange after I done got out and did the work. So and I think there's other things that come into play in this race that a lot of people did not factor. School board races across the country have become very, very important. They've become very, very important in the last 60 days, to where, I mean, it's just people are not playing with these school board races anymore. They're not playing with them. So the thing is there's in the African American community, I call it the forgotten vote. That 18 to 25-year-old African American vote. This is the one that they have a hard time, getting folks to come out. And in the school board races, the forgotten vote is normally the Caucasian American that never even had their eyes on school board elections. But now they do. Now they do. So how are you going to beat them when these people are going to actually vote this time? They're not going to play it across the country, and especially in Harris County, because they see what we're going through in our school system, Aubrey.
Yeah, man, I totally agree. I mean, I expect a large, robust turnout, especially in conservative areas. And, you just don't see. I've actually went out over the last few days and did a little bit of external, I wouldn't say polling, but just talking with a few folks, man. And nobody really know this particular young lady that you're running against. You got to remember now, she was appointed. So it wasn't like her name has ever been on a ballot. You may have some individuals who turn out who vote for, who vote gender, may vote for, a female sounding, a female name, that kind of thing. But I think that that's going to be outweighed by the people who are, I wouldn't say angry, but the people who believe in the Constitution and believe that, some of this stuff with these mass mandates and that kind of thing is infringing upon their First Amendment rights. So, and those people tend to be, very, very aggressive in terms of turning out when other folks may stay home.
With the constitutional issues, with the mass mandates, the possibility, well, in some aspects, the mandatory vaccines, like of federal employees and people who own businesses with over 10 employees, they're making this mandatory. This is going to drive people to the polls that don't believe in all of that. They believe in the Constitution, and they feel like their constitutional rights have been infringed upon. So that forgotten vote in school board elections is finna be a major, major factor. It's about to be a major, major factor, Chuck.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so. And like you talked about the bond issue earlier, to me, that bond issue is like, I've got a teenage daughter and she's got a vehicle. And if she came to me, said, hey, I need $800 to fix my car. Okay. She comes to me again a little bit later, said, hey, I need another $800 to fix my car. It's like, hold on a minute. I don't mind paying to fix your car because I want the thing to run right. But I want to look under the hood. I want to see what's being done for this money I keep doling out. And I think that's definitely what you're saying is you're not against funding the schools and the issues that needed to be funded, but just to continue to dole out money to go in some contractor's pocket who gives money to somebody else is not helping the kids.
Well, I tell you, if I'm a sitting board member right now and a bond was brought up in closed session to even discuss it, I'm not trying to hear it right now. I'm being honest with you. I'm really not trying to hear it right now, because a bond during this time period would mean an increase in property taxes. And I don't think that people are really built right now to deal with that type of increase. And also the things that would be in the bond, if there is not, and it's just me, it's just the kid in me, if there's not a component of the bond that says we build our children a state-of-the-art football stadium like all these other school districts have, then I wouldn't even consider listening to it. But based on the fact that they stole about $300 million in the last bond, no, I wouldn't vote for a bond right now. I wouldn't do it. Aubrey?
Yeah, man, I wouldn't necessarily do it either. But the thing that you have here, man, is that you have a situation that if you look at that $11 million contract that was recently pulled and looked at what's happening over in Fort Bend, I think that what you and Trevor Nels is the I think not Trevor, but the other twin brother who was a constable has now decided that he's going to go ahead and run against KP George over there for county judge. So that's going to be a very, very interesting race. You know, his brother's in Congress. So, but the point I'm making here is that I think that we're seeing sort of a shift in terms of what some processes are going to be going forward. Now, as it relates to that bond, I mean, I don't know a whole lot about that. You know, I'm not that involved in the happenings at HISD, but I do know that, man, the contracting is an issue, and the payola to friends, and that's how I got on the contractual the thing about Fort Bend and what was pulled in Harris County is that, man, that's that's the bread and butter that I can see for these trustees, man, is that, you know, they're able to, you know, there's some perhaps, I'm not going to say allegedly here. I mean, there's kickbacks and things like that have happened over the years. We know some folks who their businesses have taken off once people have gotten, you know, onto the school board. They've gotten insurance contracts and that kind of thing with school districts. And I mean, it's a mess, man. And unless, you know, something is done during this particular cycle, I don't know if you look down that report from some comments that were made by State Senator Betancourt, you know, where he talked about something about the conservative already being on board at HISD and that thing. Do you know much about that, Gary? If not,
I mean, yeah, from what I understand, and people need to understand, everybody is upset with Senator Betancourt, and I'm like, why? Why? I mean, they put themselves in this position, you know, and the thing is when it comes down to that, you know, you're gonna have to answer for your sins. The things that these people have been doing have come back to haunt us, and that is a problem, because that goes back to the overall deciding who runs for these races. These people are putting their friends in the races to get in there and do whatever they tell them to do. You know, as I'm going around and I'm speaking at forums and I'm speaking to different groups, the one thing they like about me is I'm an independent thinker. And what I mean by that is I am not going to allow a politician to put a key in my back and tell me this is what I want you to do. Well, hold on. You didn't do anything to help me get in office. I don't owe you anything. I'm going to do what's best for these children and these teachers and these people that have to be in the school system. I think that Mr. Betancourt and TEA would back off of HISD if we could get rid of some of these people in this election that, you know, the incumbents that are running that have embarrassed the state of Texas, that have got caught up in some of the illegal activities that have been going on. Nobody wants these type of people to represent them anymore. So if you keep getting caught doing things, and, you know, normally people will say, well, it's the black politicians. No. Because some of the people that got caught up, some of them were black, some of them were Latino, some of them were Democrats, some of them were Republicans. They don't care at the moment. They just want these people gone. And if you get some people in there, like we did a roundtable discussion with Bridget Wade and Caroline Walters and my friend Kendall Baker, if you get some independent thinkers in there, I don't see Caroline Walters having to do anything unethical as it pertains to contracts and different things. Caroline got money. See, when you got money, you ain't got to go in there trying to run no scheme. You see what I'm saying? I think we need to start doing credit checks, Aubrey, on some of these people running for office. Some of these people are flat broke. They can't buy signs and whatever. Then they get in there, and a couple of years later, they multi-millionaires. How does that happen?
Yeah. Man, that's crazy. I know I published a report a couple of weeks ago, man, about where many of the judges are sitting, and you can see that there's definitely, man, a feast of famine type of thing going on there, even over in the partisan races. I mean, that we're going to see in the general election. I mean, you got a range of where we've got some judges sitting with $600,000, you know, $300,000, Chuck, you know, $200,000, and then you have when you get down to the bottom, man, you see many judges, many of whom are African American, man, with $0 in the bank. One has $0, where judges have $100 in the bank. And now here's the problem with that, man. Some of these judges are the criminal court at law judges, man. Some of the very judges who walked into this problem with this bail reform and stuff, man. And the funny thing about that is that they're not getting any support. They've got drawn into a fight that they didn't that they didn't start, and then on top of that, nobody's supporting them. So I mean, I don't know if that's by design or what the process is here, but we're going to look further into that, because there are some folks who are getting filthy rich off of being in office. I mean, look at Lena, man. She's what, 3 years she's been in office, and she already has over $1 million in her bank. I mean, I haven't seen anybody do that. Adrian has been around for a while, so he's been able to carry some money over from other campaigns. He's been around. I mean, he's a known brand. But I mean, Lena's got, and he's got like 1.7 million. But Lena's a millionaire already, dude.
Well, she gonna be a millionaire and not be in office, because I just don't see her winning. I think you can run Kermit the Frog against her right now, and she gonna lose bad.
Well, I don't. It's going to be interesting. One, she's going to have several challenges, but a lot of folks really don't understand. This is crazy. Don't understand how Lena actually got that seat, dude. Lena was calling her a long shot is an understatement. That particular race, man, Lena was given she had over 100,000 vote straight ticket advantage over County Judge Ed Emmett. But get this.
So would you call Lena like Mike Tyson versus Buster Douglas? She was Buster Douglas, ain't have a shot in hell when she got in that race, and then all of a sudden she pulls it off.
Well, I don't even think that is that good. Hold on, let me explain something to you. So that everybody knows, so that this is not, so that everybody has this right. So, Democrats gave Lena over 100,000, I think it was 105,000 vote straight ticket advantage over Emmett. But after those numbers were put in, Emmett was still ahead of her, dude. She had 100. She beat him by over 100,000 straight ticket Democrat votes. But Judge Emmett was still ahead of her for most of the night. The problem in that particular race was, unlike the other races, there was a Libertarian candidate in the race also. The Libertarian candidate drew about 24,000 votes or so. And that's what drew Emmett. I mean, if you know how the Libertarian voting patterns, they tend to lean conservative over Democrat. So that's how she got in there by beating Judge Emmett by a couple thousand votes. But she got fewer votes than almost every other Democrat on the ballot that was running countywide. So it's going to be interesting to see whether or not she could witstand a Democratic challenge. Which I don't know if Kermit the Frog could beat her, just because of she's going to get some Hispanic support. But I've also heard of two Hispanics who would think about challenging her. One a male, and then it's actually three. One a male and two Latina females and a male has approached me already. For the Dem primary, so it's going to be interesting whether or not she'll survive a Dem challenge.
I think that she's in trouble. Over in Fort Bend, I think KP George is in trouble. I also think that Sheriff Eric Fagan is in trouble when they run. Right now, it's going to be hard, man, because remember, Fagan barely got in there.
Yeah,
he had to go to a runoff, and they're out here making popular decisions. See, and I think, Chuck, maybe you can speak on that. That when you get into office, you govern everybody. Mm-hmm. You govern everybody. You did get some Republican votes. You did get some Democratic votes. You got African American. You got white votes. But then when you get in office, you just going to be like, I'm going to only serve one type of people. You can't do that and think that you're going to go back in office. I think for the last 40, 50 years, we could get away with that and nobody said anything. But in the climate that we're in right now, if you're not about representing all of the people, and especially with these progressives making the noise that they're making, I don't think you get back in office in this climate. So I think that Fagan is in trouble. I think KP George is in trouble. And I really feel Hidalgo is in trouble.
Yeah, but I'm gonna tell you something. Here's the thing that you have to remember about, and people, man, you should see the looks I get when I throw these numbers out. Here in Harris County, right now there are several. I mean, when I say several is an understatement. There are a lot of miscalculations and bad policy decisions that are being made on the Dem side. I don't think there's this conception that people believe that, okay, Harris County's solid blue, and that's just not the case. What's happening here as it relates to Harris County is you have a situation where perhaps more Democrats turn out, perhaps maybe not. So away from the absentee ballot fraud thing and all that kind of thing, Democrats are turning out more numbers, but there are more people who are not voting. Those are people who are fed up. And that's what folks don't realize. Back in the 2018 midterms, there was over 1 million registered voters who did not go to the polls. Okay, so if you go back to the 2020 cycle, over 747,000 people did not vote. So when you look at the difference between both parties, it's going to be the party that's gonna control Harris County. It's gonna sweep Harris County. Is going to be the party who caters to those individuals. The problem here on the Dem side, from what I can see, is all of the crime. The crime is a hot button issue. That issue is impacting everybody, man. Look at Art's son. Little Art's son just got killed last week. Man, this is ridiculous. So you can't even go to the gas station, man. You can't even get up in the morning and feel comfortable with your wife going to go work out, at a club, man. I mean, every day something is going on. And what you don't see is an answer to the problems that we're seeing. The Democratic Party does not have any answer for the crime, and that's going to be a problem, man. And it's getting worse and worse. So when you have that happening, and you have a midterm election where they don't even know who the gubernatorial candidate is going to be at this particular point, that's another issue, man. So I'm not going to harp on Dems and I'm not here trying to support or pump up Republicans. All I'm saying here, man, is that there are some tactical blunders that are being made right now, dude, and we're a few months away from the ballots being set.
I think one race that's interesting to me, and then Chuck, you can chime in, is the race for attorney general, where you have a polarizing figure like Lee Merritt, and I'm watching the way that he's campaigning. Every time something comes out of his mouth, it's the racist Republican. Dude, Texas is a red state. It's a red state. So do you think you can win this race by alienating a whole party that you will have to get votes from? I just don't see that happening. I think that this new breed of politician just doesn't know how to appeal to the overall voter. Chuck?
Well, so to go back to Helena Hidalgo, if you think about how she won, there was a lot of cheating that went on before that we've uncovered. And who benefited the most from another party member, a young party member that's naive and doesn't know what they're doing, coming into that position? It benefited Garcia and it benefited Ellis. So in other words, Helena might not have known how the sausage was made, but it was made to benefit the other two people that she's listening to do some of these stupid ideas. And then now you start peeling away some of that cheating with the new election laws and us knowing where they're cheating and how to look for it and how to be prepared for it. Now she's got to rely on the issues and the things that she did. And so she spent too much time on a small area of voters trying to do things that ultra liberals would enjoy instead of moderate Democrats, moderate Republicans, needless to say, conservative Republicans. So now she doesn't have a resume to run on, so she's going to need help with the local media to kind of mask over all of the big issues that she's let happen to Harris County, all the corruption that's happened. They're going to have to work hard to try and mask for her mistakes. And I don't think it'll work in this climate, because I don't think that people go to Channel 13 or go to the Chronicle to get the honest news. They go to get the weather. They go to get the sports. Politics. Everybody knows that the news media is biased to whoever their side is.
I think there's going to be a big shakeup, and in 22 and 24, I think there's going to be a major shakeup. And Aubrey, you touched on something: the crime issue. I'm reading an article today, and it lists the top 10 areas in Houston where the crime is through the roof. The first 3 were located on the north side of town. This is where the most violent. Number 4 is Southeast Houston. You see what I'm saying? And if you look at these areas, especially Southeast Houston, and you're looking at Garcia, and you're looking at Rodney Ellis. Is there somebody with enough guts to run against Ellis? Because right now, I think they got enough ammunition to beat him. They got enough ammunition to beat him. If you can't lean on your record of what you've done in this climate that we're in politically, I don't think you win your races.
Yeah, Ellis is not up in this particular cycle, but I can assure you, from what I heard, I got a call last week that he will have a viable opponent when he comes back around in 2024. He will have a viable, and I will say female opponent, who I think can give him a run for his money in a straight up clean race.
Well, whoever it may be, they can get my support, because Southeast Houston is my neck of the woods, and man, it is rough. It is rough. I really feel bad for some people, because like you said earlier, man, you can't stop at the gas station no more and put gas in your car without possibly becoming a target for crime out here. And you know what's amazing? A few weeks ago they had the big old press conference, and they gave away the $5 million to deal with the crime and all that. But I don't see any work being done. Once again, a contract was given away to somebody, and they can't even do the work. And we have to live in this climate. Chuck.
Well, yeah, you think about the road construction you see, and the city, or I should say county construction, or city construction. How long does it take to get some of these projects done? That lets you know that they didn't hire the right firm to do the job. They hired somebody's buddy's firm who's kicking money back, because if it was all about getting the job done, you would have this stuff done a lot quicker, a lot more timely. But it drags on forever, because if I'm billing the county, I can bulk up my bill and go past my bid. Hey, I had rain delay, I had weather delay, I had this issue or that issue, and I keep dragging it out.
Yeah,
I even think that it was a race I was just thinking about, that I even think Kim Ogg's going to have problems when she runs. This crime is ridiculous, dude. I mean, it is just flat out ridiculous, and they're not addressing it right. The bail reform has been the way that they tried to do bail reform. Let me put it like that. Their way of trying to do bail reform has been a massive failure. It's been a massive failure. And I don't think that the voters are going to forget that when it's time to vote.
Yeah. I can see the thought process originally behind bail reform is, hey, we've got people that don't have any money that have to sit in there for a long time because the dates keep getting moved back with the courts. It's taken so long to go through the court. But if you have a problem with your house, you don't do the dumbest idea to fix the problem. You work on a solution that helps out poor people, but also make sure you're not putting all these big time criminals back out on the street. I mean, they could have gotten money together to help pay bonds on select people that deserve to get out. You know, not just say, hey, blanket deal, we're going to start letting out people that had 3 or 4 cases already before us, you know, so they can go back out and kill their wife after they just beat their wife.
Yeah, I think that I mean, on the crime issue, man, the thing that you have to remember about the crime issue here, I mean, from my perspective, sitting back looking at it, what I see here is an overcorrection. So, you know, we were too far back in the 90s here in Harris County. We were too far to the right, man. We were way over with the tough on crime, and that thing, it was unfairly impacting black and brown people. You have people being in situations where they're accused of crimes, and they're basically, just because of the unfairness of the system, they're having to cop and copping plea deals. So you have somebody who may be, you know, accused of shoplifting or maybe accused of something. They can't bond out of jail, so they go over there, man. They wind up sitting over there a year, man. I mean, so at that point, they've lost everything. So in some cases, these individuals then, you know, if they sat there for 3 months, man, for something that's simple, because you can't make a $500 bond or something, then you go over there and they throw a deal at you talking about time served or deferred adjudicate probation or something like that. They just beating, it's a form of torture, and they're beating these guys down. And many of these judges, man, that we see here, that people are complaining about, some of this stuff, we're dealing with constitutional issues. Now, I think that the major problem that I see is the letting out these violent offenders on these multiple bonds and that kind of thing. If you hear people crying, what, you know, the folks in the legislature and that kind of thing are crying about is you have these people who accused of murder and that kind of thing, and these people, you know, getting out on 5 or 6 bonds, you know, 3 different bonds at a time. People getting out on bond, going out, committing another crime, going back in, and they're out the next day on another bond. I mean, that's the major issue that I see here. But some of these judges in this kind of thing, man, these guys are trying to, I believe, trying to do things by the book. But they basically, what we're seeing here, man, is bad policy. And this policy that I believe that's been enacted has been enacted by Ellis. And you have to remember that, man, we're dealing with a system. So we're just going to be real about it. We're dealing with a system where judges are elected officials, man. These people are elected officials. They're human beings. And when you're being pushed by a party, you're being pushed by the kingmakers. You can get primaried. You lose that position. And you saw that. I said this, I think, the last time I was on. You saw that in the case of Judge Powell, when he would not go along with Ellis's system. And you see where he's at now. He's backpacking a briefcase, you know, practicing law. And so you have all these people over there who are elected officials again, who's sitting and looking at this, you know. So we have some of the problem these judges and stuff did not create. They inherited. This issue was already there. The lawsuit was already there. And they walked into this, but it's not being handled correctly. It's not, and the judges aren't getting support from the party. You know, somebody Ellis, I mean, we believe it's his problem. He should be out here explaining to folks, you know, what this is all about and why they're letting people out. But if you notice, man, he's letting these judges and stuff are taking a beating because of, you know, most of his doing.
He's behind a lot of this stuff, these bad ideas, and he has not stepped up to help out anybody, any of the puppets that he put forward to do this. Like with Lena Hidalgo, the $11 million, which was basically going to be paying to get campaign stuff out for Adrian and her. She didn't come up with this idea by herself, and so these people they're letting her hang, and Ellis and Adrian are letting these judges hang. They're not going to do anything to outwardly to help them defend this.
Listen. Let me say this. Hey, Gary, listen, man. County Judge Hidalgo does not know how to do any of this, dude. She had no political background whatsoever. She does not know how all this stuff works, man. This is Ellis, man. Ellis has been running this county, dude. If you look at many of the major issues and the things that we see happen, they start around 2016, man. That's the time that when Franco Lee died and Ellis came over here, man. What we see is legislation where somebody's running this thing like they're in the legislature, right? And they're basically legislating from the dais over there in the county, over there in the county building. So and that's indicative of a person like Ellis, pulling the strings and making things happen and getting what he wants. That's the reason why he's sitting there with 4 million, and then some of the folks whose strings he's pulling basically have no money in the bank.
Well, and it's sad because he could have done a lot to help the people of Harris County and still enriched himself, and he wouldn't have been exposed. But he decided, hey, screw the people of Harris County. Let me enrich myself. Man,
that's greed. That's greed. That's greed all day long, man. And our people need to wake up to this. I mean, all you got to do again is, and I've got a report I'm working on now, is go down and look down that list. Ellis has capacity. He does donate money to candidates. He gave Judge Jordan $5,000. The people on city council, he's giving them $1,000 here, $1,000 there, but he's not doing anything for anyone in a major way, but for himself, enriching himself. And it's time that our people wake up to this and understand the moxie we have to get the things. I mean, and I'm talking about African Americans here, to get the things that we need. The political game is not being played right. It's not being played right. We're the only ones that are missing and that are losing out on things, and it's because of the way we're playing the political game. Every other ethnic group receive benefits, whether Republicans or Democrats win. We're the ones that are alienated into one pot, and we're being corralled like cattle into that particular stream where individuals want us to go, and that's not getting us what we need. And so there needs to be a hedging of the bet, per se, in the African American community, and we need to wake up, and the time to do that is now.
Well, and Ellis needs to worry too, because his buddy, the African art dealer, he has my business card in his pocket now. So Ellis better be very, very worried, because I've had a conversation. So get ready.
I think he is worried. From what I understand, he lawyered up a long time ago, because he knows that something is coming, and it needs to come. I mean, when you've done as much as this cat has done, it just needs to come. The chickens are going to come home to roost sooner or later, and it has no choice, because our police. And what I mean by police, I'm talking about, our law enforcement type of people like Kim Ogg, like Christian Menifee. They're not doing anything. Yeah. They're not doing anything. You'll go after a Bonton, or you'll go after Damian Thaddeus Jones on some bogus charges. But you got people out here that's violating the law every single day, and you don't say nothing. You don't open your mouth. You don't say anything. And it's sad, because this is what sets the table for crime. Criminals are watching this. So if you ain't doing nothing to them, then what the hell are you going to do to me? Aubrey?
Yeah, man, I agree. And when we're dealing with a sick situation. But if we had a district attorney who just did their job, man, just did their job without fear or favor and did the right thing, man, a lot of this stuff that we're seeing, a lot of stuff that we're crying about would not be. But I think that there's some complicity in the situation. It's almost like a gang, man. If you got these guys in a gang, they're going out there doing dirt together, and who's gonna tell on who? If you tell on me, I'm gonna tell on you. This kind of thing, and that's what we're seeing here. The reason why there's nothing happening to any political insiders, but they were grandstanding, going after the three Africans against Bonton, Damien, and and that Natasha Demings young lady. But since then, nothing. And there's more than, I mean, look at what happened to Kim Ogg herself. I mean, she gave 3,000 to for some type of Go TV effort to Texas Coalition of Black Democrats, Harris County, and they weren't even supposed to be collecting monies of any type at that particular time. And that was in the last election cycle when she's running against two African American females, in terms of Audia Jones and Kavana Cloud Hicks. So and then they turn around and endorse her. So I mean, there's a lot more there that needs to be looked into. But that's the reason why the district attorney is not doing anything about any of this, man. I mean, to me, it just appears on its face that perhaps she's complicit in some of it, man. And that's the way it looks.
Final thoughts, Chuck.
For your viewers, they can definitely help out in November, and they can help out in the elections next year. In other words, if you see something, say something, because there's things they can do. There's viewers that have elderly family members that are in nursing homes. They can check in on them, and they can have them to be on the lookout for the outside nurse that comes in and pays off a friend and comes in and starts handing out ballots to sign. So, there's a lot that can be done to help out and get rid of this fraud.
Final thoughts, Aubrey.
Yeah, I'm gonna piggyback on what Chuck said. Yeah, so we have to get a situation where people become not afraid to say something about some of the stuff that they're seeing. It's relatively, these campaigns are able to thrive through those precinct chairs. So if when these guys start going around, or if they see people coming around canvassing, doing something, they feel a little bit uncomfortable. Even in this November election, man, they need to let someone know, especially one of us. I mean, I don't know if what's going to do to call a county, but they can alert us to it, and we can get out and kind of investigate what's going on and try and get some solid facts up the ladder. And they've got to become unafraid to say anything, man. I mean, authorities, especially at the attorney general level, man. I mean, some of this stuff that's happening in our community, people, saying, hey, man, it's our problem. So unless we decide to stand up and say something about what's going on in our communities, man, we're forgotten. Nobody's taking it seriously.
Well, I'm thinking about getting a number. My final thoughts. I'm thinking about getting a number called Snitch on Their Ass. Mm-hmm. That's how I feel. Snitch on their ass, because my community is messed up. Is unsafe. Other communities are starting to be unsafe. So snitch on their ass. They ain't doing nothing for us anyway. Yeah. But for me, it's simple. I think some of these people are in trouble, and they need to be in trouble because they're not good for us at all anyway. So with that being said, y'all know what it is, man. 1-800-SNITCH on their ass. That's how I feel. Say, man, I want to thank you for tuning in. Dirty Politrickz every Wednesday night, 7 o'clock, YouTube and Facebook. I want to thank my good friend Chuck Mauldin, my other good friend Aubrey R. Taylor, and I am the 5-star general. I'll be putting out some information. We block walking this weekend. We going hard in the paint. You better go find you a 18-wheeler full of early ballots, because come November 2nd, Team Monroe gonna kick your ass. Until then, We'll holler at you.